All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into a classic, Paul Willis's groundbreaking study, Learning to Labor. It's a book that asks a question that seems, well, pretty simple at first. But the answer? It tells us something really shocking about how society actually works.
Okay, so here it is. This is the central puzzle that Willis is trying to solve. Why is it that kids from working-class families so often end up in working-class jobs? And here's the kicker. They seem to choose it.
Now, you might think the easy answer is, well, they just accept they're not smart enough for anything else. But Willis, he just throws that idea right out the window. He says, look, that model treats people like they're just passive, like they have no say in their own lives. The real story is so much more complicated and honestly, way more fascinating.
So to get to that real reason, Willis does something amazing. He basically becomes a fly on the wall inside a boys' school in a working-class English town back in the 70s. And it's there that we meet these two rival groups. And their conflict, well, it's at the heart of everything. You've got the lads and the ear-rolls.
And wow, the difference between these two groups is just night and day. On one side, you've got the lads. These are the rebels, right? They're smoking in the bathrooms, giving the teachers a hard time, just constantly stirring up trouble. And then on the other side, you have the guys they make fun of, the ear-rolls. These are the kids who follow the rules, always have their hands up, and are basically trying to be the teacher's pet.
And that name, ear-rolls, it says everything about how the lads see them. To them, these guys are just passive sponges. All they do is listen, they're just soaking up information but never doing anything, never acting, never creating. They see that conformity as, well, just a total lack of life.
But, of course, the ear-holes have a totally different take on it. From their point of view, the lads aren't some cool rebels. No way. They're just destructive kids who are wasting everyone's time, especially their time, and ruining their chances of actually learning something and getting ahead. So you've got these two completely different worlds, basically at war with each other in the very same classroom.
Okay, so let's zoom in on the lads for a minute. What is this rebellion all about? Because it's not just random chaos, It's a whole counterculture. It has its own rules, its own values, its own way of seeing the world.
Yeah, their whole culture is built on one thing, rejecting everything the school stands for. It's about smoking and drinking and getting into fights, for sure. But underneath all that, there's this really deep code of honor. Loyalty to your friends, to the group, is everything. And grassing, snitching on your buddies, that is the absolute worst thing you could possibly do.
And at the very center of their world is this idea of having a laugh. Now, this isn't just about telling jokes. It's a skill. It's a creative way to take control of a situation, to make a teacher look foolish, and to survive the soul-crushing boredom of school. It's their #1 weapon against the system.
And it's not just for fun. As Joey, one of the main lads from the study, puts it, this humor is basically a survival tool. Without it, the whole oppressive school environment would just drive you crazy.
Okay, and this is maybe the most important part. This goes way deeper than just breaking rules. The lads' culture actively rejects the whole idea of mental work. They see it as weak, sissy, a future in an office, going to university. To them, that feels like a betrayal of who they are, of their working-class identity. For them, real work, masculine work, is manual labor. It's what their dads did, and it's what they're going to do.
And this right here is the central paradox of the whole book. How on earth does a culture built on defiance, on rejecting authority, end up preparing these kids so perfectly for a life of boring, repetitive, low-level factory work? It doesn't make sense, right?
Well, let's get to the big reveal. This is where it all clicks into place in a really surprising way. It turns out, their rebellion, it isn't a failure. Not at all. It's actually a different kind of success, just not the kind the school wants.
And here is the twist. The entire counterculture they built to fight the school, it turns out to be an informal and kind of tragically perfect training ground for the exact life they think they're escaping from, a life on the factory shop floor.
Just look at this table. It lays it all out so clearly. Every single attitude they use to rebel in school translates perfectly to the factory. Hating the teacher's authority, that prepares you to hate the foreman. Having a laugh to get through a boring math class, that's the exact same skill you'll use to get through a mind-numbing 8-hour shift. And that powerful code against grassing, that becomes the solidarity you need with your fellow workers on the floor. They basically learned everything they need to know to cope.
So in this incredible, profound irony, the very culture they created to resist the system is what locks them into it. Their rebellion literally becomes their cage.
So by rejecting school and celebrating the skills of manual labor, the lads aren't just choosing a job, they are actively, if unconsciously, helping to reproduce the entire class structure of society.
And you know what the most tragic part of all of this is? From their perspective, it doesn't feel like a trap at all. It feels like freedom. It feels like an authentic choice, a way of expressing their identity, their masculinity. They have no idea they're walking a path that was laid out for them. It's a classic case of what sociologists sometimes call false consciousness, when the very ideas that are holding you down feel like your own.
And this, right here, is one of the biggest ideas in sociology: social reproduction. It's how the class system keeps going, generation after generation. It's not just about money or force. The system actually gets us to do the work for it, by channeling our own resistance into the very thing that keeps us in our place.
And that leaves us with a really powerful final thought. I mean, sure, the story of the lads is from the 1970s in England, but the paradox it uncovers is absolutely timeless. It really forces us to look at our own lives and ask, where might our own resistance actually be reinforcing the very thing we think we're fighting against? What parts of our own rebellion might just be a cage in disguise?